All right. I am back. Do some stuff today. What are we doing today? Yeah, see where we left off. Let's find out. Damage state, all this stuff. Okay, what I think we can do is clean this up a little bit before we go any further. Make sure that damage is kind of working for the enemy and whatnot. Then yeah, here we go. Okay. Hold on 1 second. So okay. Alright, so a couple things we need to do. We're redoing some of this enter damage state and death state stuff that I think we can get away with just doing a check to see if we're actually being damaged here, as opposed to, attempting to redo the damage stuff. What I mean by that is, this parent class. Take damage. Let's see. Enter damage state. Throw a comment on. And what essentially happens is we just check if we can be damaged. In our case, it's just, are we already damaged or not? So this can attack into a category 2. Combat attack. Let's see. Yeah, perfect. I already have a combat attack. Perfect. Okay. So here's the question, though. We have this delay in this exit damage state. We don't want to call that in our child class. So what we could do is kind of figure out, all right, how can we repackage this a little bit better? I think we're always going to be playing a montage. Like, even the player character, when they get hit, they'll be doing some sort of montage, either upper body or full body or whatever it may be. So we're always going to be playing a montage. We're always going to be waiting for it to complete, and then we're going to exit the damage state. So this whole thing here can get put into the parent class. The only thing that's going to change is what the montage is that we're playing. So what I'm going to do is just grab this here, cut it, put it into here. That way we can kind of save on some code and simplify. And then we're just going to have a montage variable we can change per character. And of course, we could actually do like a calculate out what montage to play. So we can later on do like a function. So when we get damaged, we like play a hit left or a hit right or a hit forward, backward, pick which one we want to use. I'm just going to do this as animation, montage, damaged, file. I'll leave it as this, but I mean, if this doesn't match your character, it's not going to play. And we don't have a character in this at all for our parent class, but that's fine. You can always make this empty if we want. Just clear this out. And then in our child class, we're going to get rid of this completely, compile, go to our class defaults, damage, we're going to do animation montage. This one, which is our melee hit, the montage we made last time. Oh, where's my character at? That doesn't look good. Why is he missing? That's strange. I wonder if it's just some weird load issue. That one's working. And this one, oh, it's because, I bet it's because this is a additive. So this gets applied to whatever, the character is doing. So this montage is kind of weirdly set up that way. We eventually might have to change that a little bit to get it to kind of work how we want it to. Can you just close out of that? That would be great. There we go. All right, for now, we don't care, though. It's fine. Let's take a look at that, the death stuff. Okay, so this is one of those things we want to simplify down if we can as well. Death. I think the only thing that we've added in here is also this montage. So let's go ahead and take a look and do the same thing. I have a death montage. Yeah. Because we have a character, we always kind of want to play that, like a montage on dying. We can just simplify this, pop it in here, and on complete. Of course, we might do something else here. I don't know how we want to handle that yet. And we're going to promote this to a variable. This one's going to be a death. Damaged and death are both going to be in health category. File save. And I'm going to clear this out too. Okay. Back in here. Minion death. All right, perfect. Let's just test it out and make sure it's still working. Yeah, there you go. So we can still fight and we can still kill. Enemy gets damaged and dies. Perfect. All right. So what are we going to do today? Well, now that that's done, let's toss a comment on our death function real quick. Or not function, but just this group. Let's say enter. Bad at typing. All right. So, got our parent class, our enemy class. Let's start having our enemy kind of fight back today. So we get into this position and the enemy will, we won't have him move yet. Let's just have him turn and follow us. And then attempt it like an attack or something. The other thing that we can do is also start pushing our character back slightly so that they can't get too close. We want them close enough that their attack will always hit, but not too close that they're basically like hugging each other. We can do that a couple ways. We can do it with some inputs that kind of automatically push the player back, or we can do something like straight up collision, so that the player can't get too close to an enemy, but the collision doesn't affect anything else. It's not like it's going to block the enemy from moving or something. Let's take a look at that. Let's see if we can do that real quick. Is this guy the same? Yeah, okay, so he's off of this guy, so that's perfect. We want to do it in our parent class here, and be able to kind of update it. So here's the combat sphere, and we need another sphere. Sphere collision. It's going to be on our... I wonder if we should do it on the mesh or just on here in general. Let's call this one... Good question. What should we call this one? We need something. Right now I'm just going to say... or we could say pawn collision or something like that, because it's only going to affect pawns. And we can also do, by default, let's bring it down, whatever our height is. So our height, I don't know, we'll just leave it up at the center. It's fine, whatever. Let's give it, 100 radius, because we want to be able to get close enough, but not like too close. And I think 100 is going to be a good distance. No for that, and then we're going to do a custom. Ignore everything except block pawns. This is also nice because then another enemy won't be too close to each other. They'll kind of spread out slightly. Let's just see how that works. See if we can still hit them. Yeah, so I can't get too close. So I'm not going to be like intersecting with this mesh, but I can still hit. All right, good. Okay. For our enemy, okay, this is what's going on. We're setting this focus for entering and exiting combat. When we begin overlap, we're setting our own focus, and we're setting this focus. So in our enemy, we have to implement a focus. So here's this focus target, AI controller set focus. We're actually doing it. But what I'm assuming is that for our enemy, we're actually not changing into that rotation. So we probably have this guy still orienting to movement. Yeah, so we have this orient to movement rotation. So let's just do... By default, let's say when we set focus, we're going to turn this off here. I mean, do we do that in our parent? No, we don't. Should we? Should we just do it here? Let's take a look at the player character and where they do it. Let's see. Enter combat. That's not quite it. Where's the... focus stuff. We might not have a focus. So when we're entering combat, we're doing this here, the orient. But that kind of begs the question of, let's say we're not in combat, but we're focusing something. I think the idea, like when you're focusing something in like a Zelda game, it doesn't matter if it's an item or whatever. The character is going to turn and face it always. So you're like circle strafe around it. So we don't want this here, really. We're actually going to remove that and put that in our parent class to be whenever we start and end a focus. So and eventually we'll have to deal with that, with the focusing stuff, because we'll have to break that out into something different. We could break that out right now, actually. Just take care of it right away. Okay, so when we focus, we set our focus target. We check if it's valid or not. So if we're sending it a null, essentially we leave our focus. We go back to orient to movement, otherwise we're not, which by default, our movement orientation will then use the rotation, rotate towards our whole character towards that target. These two, entering combat, that happens when we overlap here. Set focus target, set sphere radius. We also can just call entering combat as well. And it begs the question of, should we also have, when we enter combat, should we pass an enemy, essentially, a focus target, and then call focus from in that, instead of calling two functions here? Because if we go to enter combat, where do we have enter combat? Enter attacking, damage, death, combat here. It just says, hey, can we enter? And then, it's asking for a focus target right away, though. Interesting. We could keep them separate for now. And it might be better to not worry about it quite yet. Okay, so back in here, we're going to set our focus target, and then we're going to set our in-combat stuff. Thought we could enter combat. Combat state. Oh, it's an actor. Because we're using a blueprint interface for set focus and whatnot. Enter damage, death, focus, return. We could do an enter combat in here as well. Let's do an exit combat. Compile, save, jump back here. We're just going to delete this real quick. Yeah, we're going to get errors. That's fine. And then call it state, just to keep it consistent. And we could pass our target. Okay, I'm going to do that. So we are doing the thing I was saying we weren't going to, but we are now. Because I guess we might as well start doing it now. I'm going to get rid of those. And then what we're going to do here is be set focus. Set focus target. So no matter what, we're going to try and focus whatever target this is and say, hey, we're going to focus this person or object or whatever. So when we do that, we can remove that from here. Instead, just say so we're going to tell our player to target us. And then, I guess that's over here. That's fine. And then we are going to target the player. Okay. Instead of doing it like this, we're going to say exit combat. Which we do have to change this slightly. Because right now we're checking to see if we have a focused target. Ultimately, what I want to do is basically ask if we have any enemies still around us. You know? But we'll get to it. I'm going to say exit combat area. Because this is like entering into a combat area. All right. Okay, perfect. So this is fine because we're setting the AI to do that. It's specific to our AI. This stuff is fine too. But when we exit our combat, if we're successfully exiting, then we should set focus target. And we're going to set it to null. And we're going to have to test this out and make sure it's still working. Exit combat. Okay. Let's see if that works. Or if we missed anything. The camera didn't shift, though. But he's following me, I'm following him. So that's good. Let's see why the camera didn't shift. Oh, I know why. So let's go to the player. When we changed our combat stuff to be the other thing, it changed up our things there. Now that it's a part of the interface. So we're going to do event, enter combat state, and we're going to do the same thing. Event, exit combat. Okay, and we only want to do this camera shift and whatever else we end up doing, essentially. If we were successfully entering into combat, because there is a chance that we don't enter into combat, either from gameplay perspective, like we don't want them to enter into it, we want them to run away or something, I don't know, or some other reason. So we're going to call the parent class, or the parent function, for both of these guys, and then we're just going to check to say, hey, are we in combat or not inside here. because we do everything else, and we either were successful or not, and then, we continue here. Be in combat has to be true. If it's not, then we aren't doing anything. So that way we can reuse all that code and not have to basically worry about anything. Any changes we make will be reflected here, which is just great. This one needs to be a not in combat. Or if we could just try and layer this. Yeah. Okay. So that's good. This one's good. Let's try that. Let's make sure our camera shift works. But now, got all this stuff. Our enemy focuses us. We can't get too close. And we can do all that stuff. Yeah, it's good. Okay, a couple things. I would love to eventually have that camera kind of rotate around as we're moving forward. Let's do that really, really quick, because it shouldn't be too hard. All right, so when we're moving forward or right or anything like that, we have this tick coming through here, essentially. So we're going to continue to kind of take advantage of this. And the reason why I'm going to be... I wonder if we could put this on a timer instead. So here's the thing. We have this lag speed. And as long as we're doing a timer that's ticking quick enough, it shouldn't matter. Stuff like this is tougher to get on that timer because the update for the rotation stuff, it kind of just depends if that affects everything too much. I guess we could try it though, This one is for the tap to move stuff. All this stuff we could probably put on timers as opposed to being here, and check it every couple tenths of a second or something. Yeah, let's start doing that. Let's take a couple minutes before we do more interesting stuff, and we're going to set up some timers. All right, let's do the cancel tap to move stuff first, because that's pretty easy. There's nothing in here that needs to be outside of a function or anything. What we're going to do, delete this, keep that, take these down, and class to function. We're going to call this check tap movement, or tap move to keep it a little shorter. And we're dump this into a movement category, and then is there a tap to move? There isn't, but we could put a tap to move category in. Movement, tap move. Let's put these in here too. Movement, tap move location. Okay, so essentially what happens is we have this thing here now. Let's toss in our comment. What we're going to do with this is just check every so often, not all the time like we're doing right now. We also can turn this timer on and off when we are in the middle of a tap to move kind of thing. We just have to make sure that we stop it or do whatever when we're supposed to. Okay. Delete that. It's back out. Let's delete that. Okay, begin play. We're spawning stuff here. That's great. That's fine. We're actually going to drop this into another collapsed thing called begin play group. So we're going to keep adding to this over time. And you got to be careful not to bury stuff too much, but having these groups and functions and stuff is so much nicer. It's very clean in minimal. Okay, begin gameplay setup. Okay, next thing we're doing is setting up some timers. So we're going to set timer by function name. I like doing them through functions. You can do them through like events and put like the event in a group here. But me being able to like just jump to it really quick like this is kind of nice, which is why I like doing it. I don't know if there's much of a difference between the two. We're going to collapse this. Oh, no, not to a function, to a group. And we're just going to say set up timers. So we're going to have a couple of these timers. I'm sure we'll add to it over time, but we'll get there. Okay, so this one is check. Gets tap to move. Put that in there. Just copy paste the name. Toss in a variable for the timing. Loop it. And make this into a variable so we can control it this way. We're going to pause right away. This is how all of our stuff is going to get set up. Essentially, we have a timer that we create at the beginning of the spawning time. We pause it right away, and then when we need it, we start it up. Check cancel tap move rate. And we're going to do this check cancel tap move time. Okay, tap move, both of these in here. Let's find references real quick and see if this is actually saying we should tap to move or we shouldn't. Let's see. Can't tap to move. Just says, are we moving right now? Like, is the player also have their hand on the control stick or not? Which is fine. That's easy. It's perfect. Wait, hold on. What else did we do in here? Okay, when we press it, essentially what we're saying is get the location, make sure that we can actually do the tap to move stuff in general, and then when we release it, we have to have that location for us to be able to do the tap to move. And we're also checking to see if it is a tap input. And if I remember right, this is just basically a little timer to see how quickly we hit and released, right? And that's just in here. So we set it to be a tap input. We put it on a little timer, and then we basically say no more. You could put this into a delay even, but this is nice because if we needed to like continue adding stuff on here or do anything, we're not stuck with a delay and having to deal with that and splitting it up into like a sequence or something else. Speaking of sequences, let's do that here though. We're going to put everything into like a horizontal kind of, or a vertical kind of layered system. Sometimes I like those better than doing everything in a big line. Okay. That's great. I think we're at F3 right now for the time being. Okay. Just for a second, I'm going to disconnect it. Just in case I accidentally start pressing play or something, I don't want there to be 3 timers. Okay, what were we looking at before? We're looking at the press touch stuff, and we're looking at something else. We were looking at the tap to move stuff. Perform tap to move. Okay, so we have to have a location, and we have to still have been tapping when we release it. We spawn the emitter, and we do a simple move to. And that's basically it. So in here, when we're performing this, we're entering this tap to move stuff. We also want to say, hey, we're in the middle of a tap to move. Let's move this down slightly. We're going to get my timer. We're going to unpause. So we're running this only when we're in the middle of a tap to move stuff. And then once we basically start moving again, or when the player is... see, here's the issue, though. We have to find out when the player gets there, if this is how we want to do it. Although we don't necessarily have to, because this really isn't that heavyweight. So we could just straight up wait until we start moving again. The big issue is that simple move to, it doesn't keep running. This is like a fire and forget. You know, you do it, and the AI kind of controller aspect of it will use pathfinding, and it will get to the place it's trying to go. But it's not going to tell you when it gets there, or how close it is, or if it failed, or any of that stuff. So, like, the only other way to do that kind of thing is to implement like an AI system into here, which we're not going to be doing. We're going to try and keep this really, really simple. There's a couple ways we can kind of fake that. Like, you can actually have an object that when the player puts it down, essentially, when they're moving to this location and overlapping it, that's when you're there. It's not really ideal, but I don't think that there's too much else we could do. Because we have the simple and we have this task, but I'm pretty sure that this has to be... Yeah, this controller has to be an AI controller. It's not the goal actor. You can't plug this in because it's part of the AI code and not the controller code. It would be really nice in the future to have that kind of setup where the controller can have a movement that's more of a task. And I mean, ultimately, we can always go in and we can do that ourselves in C++. But right now, I'm not doing that. All right, so timers. So that tap to move. What we're going to do is say once we succeed, as in we've started moving again, we're just going to stop this. We're going to pause our timer. And that should work. We could technically test it out. Let's only run this every 0.2. Because I think that'll be enough time to catch the player. 0.2 seconds. We could also check, hey, are we at that location here? Every time. Let's say equal, vector equal to this. Let's say get accurate location. And let's do a stop radius or an overlap radius. Tap, move, or tap, move, overlap radius. So we're not going to do like an object in the world. We are just going to check a radius. Let's do 100. Because if we're 100 units away, I think we're really close. We're going to be there in like less than a second. So we're basically done anyway. So let's just, call it quits on this one. We don't need to keep checking. We could tweak that as we go, but it's not a bad starting point, I don't think. And I'm just gonna kind of reorganize that a little bit. Okay, looks good. Yeah, it's not too bad to read. Okay, next timer. Or, let's just test it out real quick. We're not going to do either of those. We still have to new variables, and we're just going to swap them out. But let's try this. Tap to move. All right, looks good. Let's also check the timer stuff. See it running. Okay, so not running right now. Starts running. Get there. It's good. It's pretty good. Yeah. Not bad. Okay. Might still run into problems with it later, but for the moment, good. That's perfect. All right, update the rotation to focus our actor. So we're doing a bit more than we're doing quite a bit here, which is we're returning locations, we're doing look at rotations, we're kind of clamping our angles to make sure we don't go a little crazy with our camera. We're setting the control rotation, and then we're setting the actor rotation. All this stuff is happening with interpolation. So it's tough for me to say this should be on a timer, If we were just... hold on. Yeah, so previously our issue is that why we're doing this, specifically the actor rotation, is because our control rotation and actor rotation are slightly different. Because our camera is so offset that both of them have to be separate. And so if we put this onto a timer, this might become pretty choppy. We'll have to see. We could try it. We could still make the timer run pretty quick. The control rotation, I think, will be okay, though, because our camera has a lag speed kind of thing that we have set up. So that should compensate for kind of any choppiness in which we, are missing a couple frames. This one's the one that I'm worried about. But, let's just try it. Let's just try it and see what happens. Up to function. And we're just going to call this one set focus control rotation. Or set control rotation. Just say to focus. Set control rotation focus. Or look at focus. Yeah, I think that's fine. Look at focus. That described it pretty well. Or, let's use the other one. I like the other one. Update focus rotation. Update rotation to focus. It shouldn't matter. I'm going way too far into these names. That's fine, though. We also have this as a default. Let's put this into combat. What section do we have? Under attack? Or just combat, I think, in general. Yeah, let's just put it in there. Well, this could actually go into input. Let's do input. Because it might not be a combat-related thing. Wow, I'm doing bad. Typing. Input touch. We're going to do that. Okay. This one's going to be... What's our focus under? Huh. Do we not have a focus section? Let's go to my parent. It is under combat. We don't have a focus section because it's under combat. We're going to move this to its own thing. So combat, we're going to call this focus section. Update rotation of focus. Focus. Delete. Okay, so we need a couple of things. Update rotation of focus. Rate and timer, and we want to drop these into our focus section. It's getting to be a long name. Let's kind of cut these down a little bit. You say cancel. Call this rotate to focus. Okay, that should be good. Pausing it until we essentially have a focus. And then let's go ahead and set it up. Rotate to focus. I did set that up right, didn't I? Here, rotate to focus. Yeah, I did. All right. You don't need that. Okay. So the first thing we can do is say, hey, if we don't have a focus target, we're going to stop this timer. Because there's no reason to keep running it if we don't have a focus target. All right, next. We do all this stuff. We set all these things. Interpreting with the world seconds, though it won't work. We're actually going to use our rotate focus rate. So whatever rate we're taking for our timer, that's how often we're updating this. So that's our delta. And let's compile. The rest of this should work. We're just setting control rotation, doing that. The rate itself has to be pretty quick. Let's actually just do 0.1 to see how that feels. It probably will be a little choppy. I think you have to do a little lower than that. Oh wait, hold on. We can't do that yet. We haven't called this. We have to unpause our timer. Let's see, where are we going to do this? We're doing this when we set our focus. So there's only one function. And depending on whether or not we focused something, that's where we're going to update it. So we have enter combat, and that's great and whatnot. I don't think we have a set focus here, do we? Tap to move, touch look. Yeah, so event, set focus target. All we're going to do, call to parent, let it do its thing. And we're going to say focus See if we have a focus actor or not. You know, we don't need to do that quite. Because we don't need to have the actual thing. Let's do this valid instead. Or, yeah. So let's grab the timer. Pause and unpause. Okay. If it's not valid, we pause it. If it is valid, we pause it. Or unpause it. And this is gonna... Well, let's see how it works. Set timer. Remove focus. Okay, all this should be fine. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So this should be set though. Let's see. Yeah, I could see it's get a little choppy there. I think just with the player though. So you can see that player kind of freaking out a little bit. Well, let's try and see if we can keep lowering that time a little bit, that rate. See if we can get it to be pretty smooth, because it will technically be better than doing it every frame. Oh, that's messing up real bad now. Yeah. Wonder why the camera's doing that. Player, you can still see doing it a lot. Camera shouldn't be doing it much. So as you move slow, what's going on with that camera? See, the camera shouldn't be doing that though. Let's go ahead and do some print string stuff. Rotate to focus. Let's actually take a look at if this is freaking out at all. It's probably going to just be the yaw. So let's just do the yaw. And I'm going to open up my log here. And just kind of leave it in the bottom corner. Let's clear, play. See if we can get it to freak out like that. Yeah, here we go. All right, stop. Let's see if we can find any of the stutters. Seven, 11, 15, 19, 20. I don't see anything that would force it to stutter like that. Because, I mean, it is kind of a big jump here and there, but it's not going back and forth like we're seeing where it's kind of jumping around. It seems consistently going in one direction or the other, you know. So it's probably an issue just with the character rotation stuff. Let's just do an experiment. Let's keep dropping that down. So even further. I mean, there's a point where we might as well just throw it on the frame. We could just throw the character rotation on the frame and not the camera and see how that works. I wonder if I could, potentially, let's think about this, calculate out the correct rotation for that player and just apply that as like an additive or something. I think I still would have to, you know, essentially figure out. Well, I think I would still have to rotate the character over time. You know, that's the thing. It's like that happens to happen over time. Otherwise, it'll snap all over the place, which we don't want. I mean, let's do this real quick. Let's just set it and see how it looks. Because we're going pretty quick. I wonder if the camera is freaking out because of the actor rotation or something too. I don't know. Let's also do an experiment where we don't do the actor rotation at all and see if we still get that camera stutter. Because maybe it's something else. Maybe we don't have rotation smoothing on or something. Oh. See, that doesn't seem right. Let's see why. Oh, it's because of this. Because of the clamp right now. Yeah. That's going to be there. Until we, fix the other part. So that's, this is probably why we're having that weird jumping back and forth, I didn't even think about that being a problem. I mean, let's do this real quick. Let's do like negative 45 and 45. And see if that actually helps with that stutter. Just giving it a little bit of extra space. Trying to think if there's a good way to fix some of this stuff. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, so it's either not worth it, it's not worth the trouble to do it quite like this, or it's one of those things that we'll have to eventually change. Let's split this up. Let's do this. Let's do an idea where we will split up the setting actor rotation and the set control rotation to different spots. Now let's see. Or, for the time being, we can try and solve this a slightly different way. Let's do this for a second. Disconnect all this stuff. Disconnect all this stuff for a minute. Let's add this back in. Rotation rate is, I think, 360. I think that's the normal parent class one. Okay, so this was the original issue, right? My character is technically not facing the enemy. You know, they're facing more what my rotation is here. So it doesn't quite work the way we want it to, because it is pretty obvious that it's not looking in the right place as soon as you get close. My character is not fighting this guy. They're fighting an invisible guy over here. It looks like it's weird. So we do need to solve this issue. It is something that I think is solvable. I don't have a good plan for it yet, though. Okay, a couple things. One is that I should probably be doing this first before we do this if we're going to clamp it based on my actor rotation. Interesting. So, how do we want to handle this? Well, like I said, I could probably try and just apply like an actor rotational offset or something. So essentially it's rotating to, wherever the rotation is over time. But then we always add the same kind of amount. But if we do that, I don't know if it'll always be the right amount, We could change the amount, but then we're doing a tick or something like this, And then we have that same problem. Let's just do this first real quick. Okay. You know what? Let's just hold off for a second. Let's take a step back. Let's do a test. Let's see if this is worth keeping on the timer. So this right here. Let's pop this back up to some. Let's do something pretty high, like 0.2. Pretty high rate change. Yeah, so you can see it. Because our camera, the rotational lag, is keeping up really easy. We don't want this because this is, it's awful. Let's also take a look at our rotational lag. It is at 10. We could drop this down a little bit. I don't know, something more like 6. You don't want it to go too low, but yeah, Something like that's still pretty nice. You still have a little bit of that choppiness, though. So our rate, let's drop this back down something by half at least to begin with. We could probably go one more down. But it's getting pretty close. Yeah, I'm just like sitting here thinking about it and thinking at this point it's one of those issues that because this is a very integral part of the game, it might be better not to even bother with this at all and just throw it on the tick essentially and not worry. Yeah, let's do that. I'm not gonna sit here forever trying to fix this. It's fine. Okay, we're gonna do that. I have this set to negative 30 and positive 30. I think it was down lower, but I don't remember right now. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. I am gonna switch this out though. I am going to set the character's rotation first because we are using it for this stuff here. So that's one of those where you should probably update the character first, then do the other stuff. Okay. Gotta swap all this out. This is in a function now. So something we could do is re-gear that, but we're also going to start using some local variable stuff to clean this up a little. Okay. Let's do a local. Okay, just call this location. And then let's try and split this up nicer. Okay. Okay. Set active rotation. Okay. Oops. Alrighty. Okay. So, yeah. I think all this is good. That's kind of nice and readable. We changed this one back to world delta. This is using the active rotation before we get to this point. We don't need this. We don't need this. And when we go back out to timers, get rid of that one. I have to remember what the third timer was supposed to be. I'll remember sooner or later. It'll be fine. We'll leave it there for now. And then here, we're just going to toss in our rotate to focus. And it checks to see if we have a focus actor. If we don't do anything. You know, that's our quick check. Nope. Didn't mean to do that. I have to save everything. Alright. So we come in, camera shifts, character follows our enemy. Or maybe it doesn't. That's not quite right, is it? Oh no, it is. Yeah, you can see. It's facing. Or she's facing enemy a little bit better. Okay. So this is good. We're all set. We can remove the rotation. Use desired controller rotation because we don't want to be updating that. Maybe that was a part of that. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. So you can see. Cool. Camera rotation stuff. Let's bump this back up a little bit more. I personally like the rotation lag to be pretty minimal. Camera lag speed can be a little bit lower. I can put this one at 6 and this one was like 9 or something like that. But you don't want it to feel too floaty. But yeah. Oh, I remember what the other timer was for. That was for our camera. Do we want to do camera that badly right now? Yeah, because that was the thing, is we were going to be doing it through here. And I said, well, we could do it through a timer. Let's see if we can do it real quick. This is going to be like it's a camera or update. We're going to call this a follow camera. So this can get dumped into our camera category. And this will be a timer. And this will essentially be saying, hey, over time, we need to rotate our camera to follow where our player's going. So we still might run into that problem of it rotating too choppily. Let's see. You can always just toss this back in front of our other thing. So if we are moving in any sort of way for X amount of time after we've touched the camera or something, we can do this. If we stop moving, we stop moving the camera here as well, stuff like that. So first and foremost is get velocity to see if we're moving. And we can do a length. Instead of doing an actual length, we're just going to do squared because it leaves out the square root. Let's just say, is it greater than 0? Are we moving at all? Collapse this to a should follow. So we're doing that, but we're also going to say, and we're not touching the camera ourselves. So where is it? We touch input look. So this would be important if we allow the player to look around while they're moving with one finger is on the joystick, the other is on looking. So if we're going to touch look, then don't do this. All right, so that's good. Update follow camera. So, follow camera, how is it going to work? Well, we're going to take our velocity And we're going to use that as a direction. So we'll normalize out the velocity, say, hey, this is the direction the camera should be going. Start going towards that spot, at a certain rate. Now you can scale it based on speed, but then you're taking that length. Although we could just take length squared and square whatever our rate should be. Do it that way. We'll figure it out. So let's get velocity. And to get the direction, we need to normalize it. And from here, the question should be, are we going to be doing the pitch at all? I don't think so. I think we could split this and just use the yaw and give a standard pitch for now. This might change, but let's do like -10 yaw. So it's looking slightly down at the ground. Controller, set controller rotation. And what we could do is still interpolate towards this at the rate. Should do constant? Good question. Yeah, we can do constant, it's fine. Because that means we will eventually get to it. The other one doesn't never quite get there. It gets really close, but it's always tough. We're going to promote this to a rate because we're going to be using the timer for now. Update follow camera rate. I'm hoping that the camera itself will smooth it out. And this is going to be update follow camera speed. And this is going to be our target, which we're going to do an X vector or a forward kind of rotation based on that. And control rotation. This is too hard to read, so let's spread this out a bit more. Come on. There we go. I'm just not doing well today. Okay. So, interpolate to it, do all this stuff, check if we can. If we can't, if we should not follow, we can't really turn the timer on or off because there might be some things or reasons why we should or should not. So when we start moving, then we would have to turn it on, but then we'd have to turn it off when we're essentially doing the touch look. But then as soon as we release the touch look, if we're not moving, or if we are moving, then we have to decide, whether this timer should be running or not. So I'm going to opt and just say, let's leave this timer running all the time. So follow speed, let's make this, 30 degrees a second, essentially. And this rate, we're going to do is 0.1 for now. Compile. Now let's see how this works. This may or may not work. Okay. And we're going to remove one of these. Eventually we might have another timer, but for now we don't. We have the rate already. And we have the function name is update follow camera. And we're going to promote this one to a variable. Timer. The update, we could remove follow camera timer, follow camera speed, follow camera rate, and we'll leave it as update follow camera. Okay. We're not going to pause, we're just going to run it forever, essentially. Maybe later we'll find a good way to do that. This stuff needs to get tossed into camera. We're going to change this to camera follow. We also don't want to be running this when we're in combat. So let's make sure when we're in combat, we're not going to do this. Or have it focus. Let's just do focus. So we're going to check is valid. We have to say it's not valid. Oh, we also don't want to do this, so not. Missed that one. Okay. Okay, so we're setting it to always run. We have this set up to check to make sure whether we should actually update or not. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm not seeing it move though. I feel like it's almost rotating. Maybe for a second. Let's see what's going on. Yep. There you go. And I don't see it rotating much, if at all, but it's still getting through. So we have velocity, we've normalized it, making this rotation here. Here's our target, radius 0.1, speed is 30. It's not going to show me this right now. Oh, come on. Negative 90. Velocity. Oh, I know what I'm doing here. I was thinking about this as a rotator, and this was my rotator. I'm not very smart. This is a vector. This is not a rotator. So the vector, we need to be able to do that. For us, though, we're going to normalize. Let's recombine. Let's get this X part, and let's break this one. Split that, and remove that stuff here. We're just taking the yaw and the rotator. See, not doing that well today. And this is where the negative 10 is, in the pitch. You know, the thing I was talking about last time. All right, there we go. There we go. Now you can see that. But can we see the kind of skippy? Let's do slow move 0.1. So we can kind of see how it's going. Yeah. So you can see that a little bit of the kind of tilting. It's like a quick turn, like every whatever it was, 0.1. It has a little quick rotational rate. So because of that, we either have to lower it more, or we have to, I don't know. So I would like to leave as much out of the tick as I can, like having it happen every frame. 30 is pretty low in terms of rotation. And this is negative 10. There you go. So let's go ahead and grab the rate, and let's lower it down to like 0.025, something pretty low. I'm not seeing it too much now. The character has a little bit of a hitch, but that's just the animation. That 30 degrees, though, is not quite enough. There's a couple of things, though. One of which is when you're running towards the camera, we actually don't want to update this basically at all. Because it gets kind of turning. So it'll like turn you as a character. Which we don't want to do that. We don't want to have like the rotation happening there at that point. So what we're going to do is a dot product and check to see like if we're going this way all the way down to there. And as we start approaching the camera, like we just start saying don't rotate as much, if at all. So let's do that. We're going to calculate out the speed based on that kind of stuff. So we have this velocity. Let's dot product it against our control rotation. Right? Would that work? Vector for forward. So the thing is, for this, if the camera is tilted slightly down, it's not going to be quite the right, because we're basically doing like a horizontal dot. I don't think they have them built in. Yeah, it's just dot. So thinking about it that way, we could break both of these apart and put them back together, or multiply it by a variable to get rid of the z. But this is fine, we'll do it this way. We could potentially put this into a little mini group as well. We got this, that's great. We're getting rid of the z. We're going to do dot product. Not there. This one and this one. Okay. What I would like to do is just do a quick print string so we can see that it's working. Or if we have it backwards or something like that. Because I am not necessarily a programmer. I don't have all this stuff memorized like I should. Okay. Yep, that's perfect. All right, -1 when we go this way, 1 when we go that way. Perfect. When you go to the sides, it's basically 0. Okay. So that's going to work there. That's great. We don't want to multiply it directly against this. We're going to actually, let's just do a map. It'll be quick. From -1 to 1 to 0 to 1. Oh, this is the one. So what we're going to say is this multiplied by this here. Now let's group this up. Get rid of that. Delete that. We're going to call this calculate enter speed. Remove this one, we don't need it. Direction, this one's going to be speed. Okay, perfect, right? I'm not sure how expensive a dot product is here either, though. I'll have to think if there's a better way to do it, instead of doing a dot. There might be. We're going to calculate out interpolation speed. We're going to apply it. And I think we're good. All right, let's try that. Yeah. Not bad. So as we go closer here, now we don't have the character turning basically at all. Or the camera, like, influencing it. But when we're over here doing this stuff works. It's fine. What we can do is also a cap. So instead of going to like pure 1 here, we could even change that out a little bit. So -1 to 1, instead we're going to do -1 to, like, I don't know, 0.75. So that once we hit there, it's the maximum. And we can up this to being like a 60 instead. So as we're here, like, this kind of thing is gonna just keep it going pretty nicely. Will keep us moving around. It might be a little bit too quick, but yeah. And then as we come this way, then it doesn't do it as much. Let's lower it down just a little bit. We do want to be, as we're like going here, it updating pretty fast. So that, we can make that turn. And like the camera will get in front, so then we can start going forward again faster. So instead of using a map, let's use a curve. We could just lower this to have the maximum like that at the edges. But using a curve is going to be more fun. All right, so we got this. I don't think we have like a camera group to put this into. That's fine. We're going to do miscellaneous, curve, float curve. And we're going to call this float curve. Camera, follow camera. Speed. Okay, so we're applying this to our -1 to 1 stuff, right? So time -1, that's our starting dot point. And we're going to +1. And we're going to think about this as a 0 to 1 kind of space to play with, right? So our dot gets fed into this, and that's our time. And our value comes out as whatever we want it to be, based on whatever that dot product ends up being. So number 1, let's do a little bit less. Let's do like 0.5 or something, the overall speed. And when we're at time 0, we're going to boost that up to 1. And then as we approach here, we're going to kind of build this off pretty quick. So like 0.75 is getting closer to, negative 0.75 is what I meant. Whoops, no. We're getting pretty close down. Like 0.05 sounds pretty good. Like that. And then we're going to flatten, rotate this one. So we get a nice kind of curve into there. And as we go up, we hit this kind of maximum here. In fact, we can have like a little bit of a negative 0.1 and 0.1. Okay. And then same thing here. We can actually pull this back to like 0.9. So then we have like these little tops of these kind of hills. Let's do this at 0.6 or negative 0.6. Sorry. And let's bring this into like 0.9 or negative 0.9. Jeez, I'm doing terrible. All right. So as we're here, like on the going sideways, we actually have the most rotation. And then as we approach the front, it slows down quite a bit. And as we approach running towards the camera, then we're going to basically be doing nothing. All right, back in the player. Instead of doing this, we're going to delete that. We're going to do a slope curve, new variable. Slope curve. Compile. This is a slope curve. Follow camera speed. Do we have a camera? Yeah, camera here. Follow camera. There we go. Return. Wait, what is this that I'm trying to do? Is this the right thing? No, this is wrong. Slope curve. Here it is, object type. Yeah, change variable. There we go. Put that in, get value, get float value at time, pop that in, pop that in. All right, perfect. And now we can also have some really good control over this stuff. We'll leave 60 as that, because now it won't be quite as intense when we're moving this way. The other thing that we could do is also based on speed. Like I was saying before. Oh, we're getting something over here. Hold on. Yeah, so as we're going this way, it's getting all messed up. Why is that? Oh, I know why. So, we have this set to 0. It says multiplies it by 0, makes it 0. Interpolating when you have an interp speed of 0 is instantaneous. We actually don't want that. We want something really, really close to 0, but not quite 0. So we can fix that in here, but we also kind of want to fix it just in general, just so that we don't ever hit that. So 0 point, I don't know, or else have an interp speed of like 1, or not 1, 0.1, or 0.05, or let's do 100 divided by 1. No, 100 divided by, or 1 divided by 100, sorry. Yeah, so it's 0.01. Okay, so we got that there, and that's great, but we also want to make sure that that doesn't happen ever anyway. So whatever we have coming out here, we should clamp it between the lowest amount and, you know, whatever it is we want. Oops. So for us, that's going to be between 1 and 0, but this is going to be 0, 1. So no matter what, we never hit 0. Okay. And now, yeah. I don't see it updating basically at all now. What did I mess up? Oh, I put it in this wrong spot. Should put it before this. Hold on. This goes here and plugs into there. All right, and now let's give that a try. You still might need to update the speed to be a little bit higher for rotation. So right now, running around in a circle is taking quite a bit of time. Like if we start here, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like almost like 5 or 6 seconds. Although I'm counting pretty fast. But that's here, and then of course the other thing is, if we're doing slow movements, we don't want to rotate quite this quick either. We may want to rotate slightly slower. But overall, it's getting there. Let's go ahead just for good measure. And multiply it against our, what do you call it? Our velocity. we have our velocity here. And we can essentially just say, hey, based on whatever our length is, that's how fast we're also going to influence. Although I don't always like doing getting the length like this. This is kind of necessary for the time being, just because I want to get it done quick, and I'm not going to figure out a better way to do it at this moment. We're going to do this based on our max walk speed, though. So whatever our maximum is, we're just going to straight up divide it by that. So this is going to be like a linear progression of 0 to 1, which we could like ease it or something. You know, see if they have like a quick ease function. This is basically going to be our alpha, and it's going to be 0, 1. Of course, we're going to do 0.01 and 1, exponent of 2. And then we'll multiply these two. Or add them together and divide it by 2. Because we could do like a weighted average kind of thing, but I don't know if we're going to have time for that. We could just do a normal average. So this divided by 2, because we have 2 things we're adding together, essentially. Potentially, this could be 1 and 1. Add 1 and 1 together is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's our max, you know, what we're hitting. Whereas, you know, like, let's say we have 1 here, because we're moving to the side, but we only have 0.5 here. You know, 1.5 divided by 2 gives us like 0.75. Something like that. I don't know math. Math is terrible. I mean, it's not true, but still. I'm just bad at it. So if we have this, or if we go a lot slower, something like that. Now we're not having like that quick stuttery like camera movement stuff. And we can again kind of increase this a bit more. Let's go to 90. Although what we could do here for the weighted average kind of thing is this. So our speed actually factors into it more than this stuff. Yeah, but then if that's the case, we're going to be running towards the camera. It's going to freak out, I bet. Let's try. Yeah, see, now our camera stuff doesn't take precedence. Yeah. So let's do this where 1 and 2. And even now, I gotta check and see. Yeah, see, now we have to deal with this. We need our dot product to be the king, essentially. Should we just multiply it then? So we have a dot. And this dot essentially is king in terms of the amount we want to deal with. We could clamp this value based on that. You know, clamp the float and say if we're a 0 or whatever, that's the maximum you can get. Or if we're a 0.5 or point whatever, that's the max. You know, you can't do anything else. And then we feed it into here just to double check it. But I think that would work technically. Let's see. So this is like 1, which is the fastest we can turn. And then as we go up this direction, and as we slow down our movement, we're not really turning the camera much until we hit like the side. We're doing our full speed. And when we're in combat, we're all good. Not bad. Okay. At this point, I think we might take a break. Wonder if there's a quick way for me to add anything else in. We did camera stuff. We did some quick fixes on certain things. What else? I don't know. I think that's about it for now. We didn't get to what I wanted to do, which is have our enemy attack us. We'll have to do that next time, though. Yeah, it's okay. Next time. Hopefully I'll do it during the middle of the week or something. I'd like to keep working on this like twice a week at least. Yeah. Until next time.